Markets this morning are pulling back. We're expecting a lower opening for the broader averages. Take a look. We're back at the lows of the morning, down 115 points on the Dow, 45 points lower on the Nasdaq. Of course, this morning we got a weak showing, but this is after yesterday's huge performance. The Dow Jones Industrial Average closed above 23,000 for the first time ever yesterday, as investors put their confidence behind technology stocks, among others. IBM was one of the big drivers. Joining us right now is the president of the Nasdaq Stock Exchange, Nelson Griggs. Nelson, it's good to have you on the program. Thanks so much for being here.
Great to be here, Maria. Thanks for having me.
So there must be a lot of momentum there at Nasdaq with this technology rally. The Nasdaq Composite is up 23% so far this year. What do you think is going on?
Well, I think what you have here is the investors clearly want to purchase growth stocks right now. The companies, especially the larger Nasdaq technology companies, are delivering in terms of revenue, in terms of user growth. And we've also seen a tremendous performance in the Nasdaq technology IPOs this year. So all in all, you just have a great backdrop where the investors love the growth story.
What's your take on this Silicon Valley story that is propping up? Silicon Valley guys want to have their own exchange. In Silicon Valley, they say that it's going to be long-term investing, and the current exchanges are encouraging short-term trading.
Well, I would say there's a lot in the long-term exchange proposal that we would agree with, and I think my primary job is to speak with our 2,700 companies on NASDAQ, and there certainly is a desire, a need for communication with investors to be more long-term focused. It's a hard thing to accomplish, so you have to look at it from the company side, but also the investor side, and there is definitely a middle ground to reach here.
Yeah, Nelson, I think it's pretty interesting you bring that up because I know NASDAQ has their private market that actually helps shares of private companies go back and forth. But what I'm more interested in is your leadership when it comes to the blockchain technology and what's happening. I mean, if we go over to the Nordic region, NASDAQ has the only listed ETNs when it comes to Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then we saw you just recently got a patent when it came to the blockchain technology. Can you talk to us about how you think about cryptocurrencies and blockchain?
Sure. So we have a fairly large effort internally for blockchain because we do think it is a transformative technology. And where we look at it is a couple of areas. One, when you think about tracking a share as it moves from investor to investor, that is today a very antiquated process. And there's great opportunity to bring that to not only how stocks are traded and tracked, which we are doing today in the private market, but also how that could focus on how stocks clear and trade. So I think there's a lot of opportunity. When we look at cryptocurrencies, we do think there's opportunity there as well, but we are looking at it a little more cautiously.
Real quick,
clearly, the
Murphy,
blockchain is transformative.
Hey, Nelson, just quickly, you're standing in front of a Mongo sign for the IPO.
Yeah.
So how do you get more of the large unicorn companies to list, to come to the public markets? I'm sure it's a point that you're focusing on. How do you do it?
Yeah, well, first off, we do feel very firmly that a company should only go public when they're ready to go public. So the fact that there's a lot of attention played on the unicorns taking longer to come to market is not necessarily a bad thing because they have to be prepared when they come. And that's why we do have the NASDAQ private market. But at the same time, we do think that the regulatory aspect of the overall framework needs to be looked at more closely. Over the last 8 years, there's been more and more regulations piled upon listed companies that we do believe could be a moment in time here to have some progression in terms of how we work with our companies.
Nelson, great to see you. Thanks so much, sir.
Thanks for having me.
Nelson Griggs joining us there, president at the Nasdaq. Still